something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Well, g'day, folks. How you going? Hope you've had a good sort of a day. Mine has been a day filled with a bit of good stuff. I went to go and see my mum today and spend a bit of time with her. Went and saw a couple of other folks. We talked about some business opportunities and some ways they might be able to help us out here on the channel. So you might see something new coming up here fairly soon. And I've had a couple of interesting conversations with people about, other things that we'll go into. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into tonight's show. Tomorrow night, the normal Friday night free-for-all isn't going to happen. I've been invited to an event where I'll be able to go and record a number of interviews with some people that I'll be able to bring you next week. But unfortunately, that event starts late tomorrow afternoon and goes into the early evening, and I won't be in a position really to do much across all the channels. What will happen at some point in the evening, I suspect, is I'll pick up the phone and I'll do a live from it. But as we all know, that only goes out on the Nun2K YouTube channel. So if you are not watching the Nun2K YouTube channel, you might be watching Voice of Freedom or the Voice of Freedom or Facebook or Unity Hub or Rumble channels, Cairns News Rumble channel, whatever you're watching at the moment. You won't see it on there unless you go to the Voice of Freedom channel on YouTube, which is found under Nun2K, N-U-N-N, the number 2, the letter K. And that was our original channel. So you'll find it there, and I'll be able to tell you more about that event a little later on. I want to congratulate Tony Alvarez from the Lake Oberon estate down in New South Wales. Tony, great friend of this program, and put up a magnificent place for us all to have a seminar a few months back. He came, drove down to Canberra and helped me with the bus to get me back with my lights. An absolute legend of a human being and such a dynamo in the local community that he decided to run for council and won. This is the kind of person that I keep talking about. There are folks in your community who will stand up, who do want the best for everyone, not the best for themselves. Tony Alvarez, Anthony Alvarez, I don't know what, Councillor Alvarez, is one of those blokes. I was going to have him on the show tomorrow night with the free-for-all. Unfortunately, that won't happen because there won't be a free-for-all, but I'll try and catch him up over the weekend if he's free and record a little something with him, be able to bring that to you on Monday night as well. Monday, if life, the universe, and telecommunications allows, Monday morning is going to be a fairly busy live morning. At 9:30 on Monday morning, something very special is going to happen with Ainsley Bullion. So I can't tell you anything more than that, other than to say you might be interested in what you're going to learn 9:30 Monday morning. I have to be so careful about what I say. So that'll be live 9:30 Monday morning if telecommunications work. The reason we are worried about telecommunications is because it's a public holiday in Queensland and New South Wales on Monday. And Michael, the fella from Ainsley that we'll be chatting to, the CEO, is doing the family thing this weekend, going away camping. So he could be in an area still at 9:00 or 9:30 on Monday morning that might be a bit shaky and dodgy when it comes to coverage. But the aim is at 9:30 Monday morning, we will have that live. If it's not then, it will happen a little later in the day when he gets back closer to civilization. But be aware if you're into gold, silver, and other bullion type products, Monday morning, 9:30 at this stage, and I'll let you know if that changes. Also, on Monday morning, we had a great deal of reaction to Bob. Oh, I seem to have lost my guest. That's a bit harsh. we've had a huge reaction to Bob's last appearance on the show, and very happy to announce that Bob is coming back, and will be back on Monday morning as well. Now, Monday morning, Monday morning, 11 a.m. Queensland. So I beg your pardon, 11 a.m., 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Standard Time. God, I hate daylight savings, and it's this weekend. So Vince is going to be involved. Wherever you're going to be, if you've got a question for Bob, you're going to need to be involved in the show. I'm going to try and get the time zones right. 11:30 in Queensland, 9:30 in Western Australia, 12 o'clock in South Australia, and 12:30 in Victoria, Tasmania, New South Wales. Northern Territory, I think, will be half an hour. It might be 11 o'clock Northern Territory. I'm not sure if Northern Territory go into daylight saving or not. At any rate, that's happening at 11:30 Queensland time on Monday morning, 12:30 Victorian New South Wales time, 9:30 Western Australia, and 12 o'clock in Adelaide. Wherever you are, you figure it out. If you want to ask Bob a question, that'll be the time to come and ask. And he's very open to all your questions about what he did, how he does it, can he still do it, all that sort of thing. He isn't doing anything like this at the moment. You can't really ask him questions about you, or ask him sort of for him to read you, so to speak, because as you heard in the show, for his own health, he's had to sort of back away from it for a little bit, but he'll certainly explain a lot more about his very interesting job history. So 11:30 Queensland time, 12:30 New South Wales, Victoria, 12 o'clock in Adelaide, 9:30 in Western Australia. And if you're in the Northern Territory, figure it out. You'll probably just have a Darwin stubby and watch it later. All right, let's get into the show. I've had a couple of conversations with this bloke. We've met on the road at different parts. I have a little bit of bus envy, just a little bit of bus envy. It may have something to do with his diesel engine, I'm not sure. But Wade Nordhausen is just a dynamo. Billboard Battalion have been on the road now for a couple of years. Wade, thank you for coming and joining me on the Voice of Freedom tonight.
You're absolutely welcome, mate. And thanks for that great intro. And it's really, really good to be on your show tonight and hit the old floorboards and see what we can come up with.
Mate, you are one of the hardest working men in the freedom business. You've just spent the last few days at the Elmore Field Days. Now, from my old radio days, I grew up around the Wimmera Field Days, the Allansford Field Days down near Warrnambool, and the Elmore Field Days were amongst the largest. It's a huge amount of people, and obviously you're there delivering a very important message.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of issues with coverage and all that sort of thing, Carl, but that's okay. We'll just run with it, see how we go. So, the Elmore Field Days here, for people who don't know, or people international, it's about about an hour and a half north of Melbourne in central Victoria, Australia. And it's been going for quite a number of years, I think around about 50. And I can remember going there as a kid when it first kicked off. And, it's good to get back there now and touch base with a lot of the businesses and the industries and so on, and the farmers that attend the Elmore Field Days. And it's good that we've been able to make it, because we had invitations to go up to the Henty Field Days and be up there with Billboard Battalion. But anyway, as things turned out, we had other projects on the go at the same time, which, we couldn't make it. So, but anyway, I really need to be in that space and pushing our stuff and pushing a lot of the people we did, and we can talk about that, expand on that in a second or two.
Yeah. How's the reception at the field days? Do people welcome your message, or do they see you as a bit on the outside, a bit of, you're one of these far righty types? And I guess my other question is the renewable, the wind farms, the land that's being taken over. Is that a topic of conversation at at places like the field days? And is it a favourable or an unfavourable conversation?
So there's a mixed bag. There's some people that think that Billboard Battalion is absolutely fantastic and amazing and terrific, and there's other people who sort of have a bit of a different viewpoint. We do get some people who, they've even said, if you're going to be at the field days, we'll meet you there and catch up and just wave the flag and have a coffee or talk about, what's going on, etc. To the other end of the scale, where there are some people that go to the field days who are very successful in what they're doing in a business sense, and are ideologically opposed to what we do, and they sort of aren't all that warm. But the bottom line is that we're getting more of those people over the time are starting to switch sides and go, well, we can actually see the things that you've been talking about for years and years now are starting to come to fruition, and so that's concerning a lot of people. And the other thing is that the main demographic of people at these field days that really don't like us are most of the politicians.
Yeah.
So we call out the politicians, the four major parties, and we give them a rather hard time, but nowhere near as hard time as what they deserve. But they really don't like it when they see Billboard Battalion rock up, or Farmer Wade in the green shirt coming through the crowd. They get very, very offensive or very narky and have a different body language and tone. So, but the thing is, like I always say, I'm open to debate them publicly if they think what I'm saying is wrong or I'm misleading in any way. Billboard Battalion will host a live to air debate with them, and I'm quite sure that a number of other our freedom fighters who have platforms and so on would also live stream it at the time. So
Absolutely.
we have not had one of them has had the guts to stand up and say, yes, I will take you on in the public arena. And for me, that's the marker right there.
So to me, that's an indication of the weakness of our politicians, their inability, and a demonstration of the fact that if they're not corrupted, they are not intelligent enough to be working for the people. They're just going with the flow and taking the check. Sadly, I fear most of them are probably corrupted. It's, we were talking earlier this afternoon about people like Tony Alvarez, who got elected to local council in Oberon. Part of his platform, of course, was the wind farm operations that are trying to move in and around Oberon at the moment, and the usable farmland that is being overtaken. I was shocked last time I was down in Victoria. I did quite an extensive run from northern Victoria all the way down into western Victoria and over the South Australian border practically, and then came back along the Victorian coastline pretty much to Geelong. And I was amazed at the amount of turbines on what used to be great farming and dairy land. Are our farmers being offered huge financial incentives to put renewables on their property, including acres and acres and acres of solar farms, like that bloody solar farm outside of Wangaratta there off the Hume? I don't know how big that is. It looks absolutely phenomenally huge. You can't grow anything there now. And I just wonder whether or not our farmers are being bribed with financial incentive not to put crops in or to turn those crops back into the ground like the UK farmers are being offered. Is there anything like that happening?
Absolutely, Carl. Like right opposite our place here in around the Echuca area, the Echuca-Shepparton area of the Goulburn Valley in north central Victoria now. Now we're looking at a proposal there trying to put this this turbine factory right across the road within a couple of k's of our boundary here. And the public meetings that I've been to in regard to our local ones, they have not answered the questions that I've put to them. And the other people that I've spoken to who have had issues with transmission lines and so on, they say that the transmission line, the companies who want to put this in just lie to them. They bully them. They try and put pressure tactics on them and all this kind of stuff. So, but the other side of the coin is every now and again you're going to get a farmer who goes, oh, well, I really don't care about farms. I don't care about growing food or whatever. I'm going to put this in and get a heap of money. But the other side of the story with all that, Carl, is this. And we've had this, I've put this to a number of these companies. And like we had a local town hall meeting here with one of these companies a couple of months ago. And I stood up and I spoke for just impromptu, stood up and spoke for about 4 minutes. And that ended up going up on TikTok. And that's had 330,000 views. So people are very interested in what's happening. They're very, very concerned about what's happening. And we do see some farmers who go, oh, well, we'll just take the money. And they're selling out, whatever's going on. But what we're talking about, and to their credit, we do see a couple of politicians who are saying that they're lying to the people about the costs of decommissioning this stuff, or if anything goes wrong. And these wind turbines, the company that spoke to us, and we had a private meeting with them after the public one a week later, and I put these questions to them. They said, "Oh no, the farmers have no liability. We'll underwrite it all, and we'll cover the costs of decommission or anything goes wrong." And I said to them, "Well, what's going to happen if this company ends up going bankrupt or be sold out to another company and then a different company and another one that's only a $2 company, and then they shut it down? Who's left holding the baby?" "Oh, no, that won't happen. We'll make sure that doesn't happen." So, figures that we've heard that farmers could be left with per wind turbine to decommission these things could be around $600,000 to $1 million. This is the numbers that we're hearing from people who are in the game. So, and we're prosecuting that case. So we're saying, on that basis alone, the things will be worth more than your farm. So if you get...
That's ridiculous. The thing is worth more than the farm. And recently, as Paul has pointed out, propellers tend to fly off these bloody things. And down near, I think it was Ballarat recently, it might have been Geelong, there was a big warning put out for people in an area near one of these brand new turbine farms, part of the plant. There was an advisory put out, farmers in the area to be wearing hard hats because this stuff was going to be raining down on them for a while. So, I don't know. I do understand farming is a very, very arduous process. You've really got to love the land. You've got to love the animals, and it's a hard job. Anybody who watches Clarkson's Farm gets half an idea, I suppose. The Australian bush and the Australian farmers, I think, do it much harder than Jeremy Clarkson's and the English farmers do in many cases. But, we all have crosses to bear in different parts of the world. You can't blame farmers, I guess, for taking the money if they've had a few bad years. Or is it a case that the banks have been taking over so many farms from generational farming families, and those properties have been sold off whole or in part to, for the want of a better term, yuppie farmers who come in and put a few llamas on the property and all of a sudden are approached by an electrical company who wants to plant, propellers instead of pansies. How do you fight it?
Well, I think that one of the things that we do need to use to fight our greatest weapon is information. Our greatest weapon is to inform the public what this means, what it's about, and the impacts and the consequences of it. Because I think we have a duty of care to the agricultural and the food production and the security of Australia. And having said that too, I think that that's not a duty of care that just should be borne by farmers. I think that's a duty of care that should be borne by the entire population.
Yes, I agree.
And that's a bigger story for another day. But you talk about all sorts of things in terms of government subsidies or whatever that we need to keep our farmers in business, or laws that protect from our farmers being destroyed and sent broke by cheap, inferior imports that put our people out of business. But that's, as I said, that's a story for another day. But how do we stop it? We must get everybody to understand what this thing is about in the first place. And as you know, we constantly prosecute the case to say that the so-called renewable energy is part of what I call the overall big picture, the global politics big picture, that is designed to wipe out farmland and to create an electricity system in Australia that is going to fail. It is going to collapse. It cannot do what they're telling us it's going to do. And in Victoria here, the government's own reports are saying that if they get all the renewable energy infrastructure in Victoria that they want, the footprint of that will occupy 70% of Victoria's available farmland, food growing land. So this thing is a horror, and this stuff's popping up all over the joint. It's coming up all over Australia, and as you know, Carl, we travel a lot of Australia, and we talk to a lot of people from all over the country. And this renewable energy, it's a total fraud. It's not renewable energy; it's a disaster. But it's becoming front of centre for so many people.
Yeah, and it's such a problem that is going to be left for. It's in part the reason that I put up that interesting little bit of information about uranium at the head of the show. The nuclear debate in this country gets shut down by the Screaming Greens and other uneducated or unintelligent or otherwise motivated agenda setters. Do you think that common sense will actually eventually rise to the top? Australia has the largest uranium reserves in the world, and we could quite comfortably power this country and not potentially pay anything for our power because we're selling so much of it to the rest of the world, it covers the cost. But that doesn't work with the big business model, does it?
Well, no, and I think, the big business model is first and foremost the problem. And, I speak a lot in Victoria here when they sold off the SEC and the coal-fired generators and so on. And, the lies that at that time was the Jeff Kennett coalition government told us, but it doesn't matter which one it is, they would have done that anyway, because that was the program, that's set out by the World Economic Forum and the WHO and the UN and so on.
Yeah.
They ran the system down, and then they said, well, we've got so much expense to bring this thing back up to speed. We're going to have to sell it to private enterprise and all this other sort of thing. These are the lies they tell you. If they were run down, they have deliberately run them down, so then they have the excuse to sell them. And they should, electricity generation, water supply should never ever be sold off to multinational corporates. Never.
Yep.
Absolutely never.
No.
So, but to get to your point about uranium, look, uranium is certainly a possibility in terms of our energy supply. But with our best form of energy, I believe, is our coal-fired power stations, and new ones are very, very low in emissions. And the stupidity or the irrational stupidity of the people arguing for shutting them down are not saying a damn word about the huge number of new ones that are being built in the likes of China and India and so on.
Yeah.
So why don't these I'm not sure what the word, it'll come to me what sort of term that we need, but I don't know whether we're talking about academic, woke, lefty, whatevers. But, you know, the people who are talking about us shutting down our coal-fired power stations, why don't you rack off to live in China or live somewhere else? You know,
Well, go and live
stupid
in New Guinea where they have very limited power.
Well, even like I was talking to somebody there a while ago from South Africa, and you know, apparently even in South Africa they have regular rolling power outages. You know, because that's what these saboteurs want to bring to Australia. And I think if you look at the big picture stuff that I talk about, the international model from the World Economic Forum and the WHO and the UN, you know, they want to shut down rural and regional centres for a start. And I think if you create all this crap all over the place and then you start to shut down the electricity and say, oh, look, you know, because of climate change, oh, it's climate change. We've got no electricity in the country areas. Going to have to clear them out. It wasn't climate change, you scumbags. It was you deliberately sabotaging the electricity supply to fit into the World Economic Forum and UN and WHO agenda, which our governments are absolutely signed up to doing.
Yep, 100%. And that only indicates to me that they are certainly not working for we the people. I don't even know why they bother going through the farce of an election. Well, they do that to keep us blinded. And certainly there are a great majority still blinded. We've been working on our different paths for the last few years, Wade. Others on the road as well, Guru, Michael. We've never really come together, have we? The freedom movement is sort of spread apart. We've all got different messages, but at various times we all have the same message. You and I were having a talk this afternoon briefly before the show, and you said some very powerful things during that chat, and I'd like to go back to it. We, as I suppose, I hesitate to use the word the faces, but we are the people in Australia at the moment who you see the most talking about the things that nobody else talks about. And yet you never see us all come together and discussing. It's very rare that, you know, I think this is probably the first, maybe the second time you've ever been on. I've been on Michael's show once. He's been on mine once. Guru's been on mine a couple of times. I've been on his. But we've never really come together and decided on one single message that we should be using to unite our people. We're essentially dividing everybody now as we go, if only in just minor terms. Your idea of bringing us all together, I think, is a great one.
Yeah, well, as we talked about, and I've spoken about many times before, it's the freedom movement is not made up of paid professional politicians. You know, we're made up of a cross representation of the community. And, you know, I know a lot of the so-called freedom leaders, if you like, as much as what you do. So I think that what we learnt from the government, the terrorists in our country, is that if you are going to be successful in swaying public opinion or rallying public opinion, and that's what we have to do. We have to follow what the government did, because keep in mind they've spent like hundreds of millions of dollars on PR people and psychoanalysis and all this sort of thing to find out how to work people and how to get them to do what they don't even want to do, but you still get them to do it anyway. So
yeah,
I think that we need to have a policy where, as the freedom movement, you know, we can do our niche thing, and that might be 80-90% of what we do, because everybody's got a different niche. But I think for at least 10% of the deal, Carl, we need to have a common message. We need to have, we continually hear people say, oh, we've got to be on the one page, on the same page, but you must be on the right page. And, you know, for my thing, our greatest weapon is information and bringing the Australian people together to understand what has gone wrong, why we're in the situation, and how we can fix it. So, you know, there's three very, very simple points. And if the freedom movement or anybody with a platform, expand it even a bit more from the freedom movement. If anybody who has a platform committed 10% of what they do to a common message, because the government proved that if they have a number one, a common message, number two, the same message, and number three, repeat it over and over and over again, and don't deviate. You cannot deviate, because our problem where we're losing, and we're losing because of our own stupidity, and that is that if you have a common message, that takes confusion out of the argument for the public. Whereas if all of us come with a different message, you create confusion and you're stuffed. It doesn't matter how hard you try or work or how many hours you do or how much money you throw at it. If you create confusion in the minds of the public, you may as well go home now. It's over. You're finished. You're done.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. So what do you think is, how do we do it? What is a way to bring us all together like that? Get on message.
Well, I think that we need to have some sort of a coming together, some sort of a summit where, you know, you create an event that in itself is statesman-like.
Yes.
You know, we can all do it on Zooms and all this other crap, or what's whatever, but we need to have a physical coming together of the parties involved, where everybody can see what it is, and it then obtains historical significance. And you know, like we're in the act now of putting together a medical conference for North Central Victoria, hopefully around the first or second week in November. You know, and it's going to be a physical conference because that's that's something that's sentient. It comes to life. If you turn up at a physical event and he's here and people can report on it, live stream, you've got your conversations, you've got the actual physical people there. It then takes on, it becomes alive. Whereas everything that's done on little tiny screens and so on,
I agree.
You know,
as soon as you hang up, as soon as you've done one of these, the phone rings, you're immediately off and distracted with something else. And it can be difficult to get things achieved. So I think the idea of coming together is bloody awesome. First or second week of November, I'm meant to be down your way for a My Place event near Echuca at the end of November. I'll just come down a couple of weeks earlier if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing we're putting together in Feb is, as I said, that's a medical conference. That, you know, people look at me and go, "Wade, what the hell do you know about medical anything?" Nothing. That's why you have a conference where you bring together the medical experts in the field who are not on the page, on the payroll of APRA or the government or the World Health terrorist organization. You know, so this is like, that's the whole purpose of that. And you know, there's a possibility to put together another conference like we're talking about to get all on the same page. And I mean, for my input or where I want to, and I'm not interested in doing stuffed up stuff. I'm interested in saying, right, this is what I've learned. This is the direction we're taking. You know, we're not going to have everybody want to go from everything, from this to that to whatever, all this other crap. You know, we need shoot straight. Here's what we're doing, because here is what is the issue, and here's what's going to fix it. And you know, we heard a lot of people talk about having another go at Canberra, at Epic 2. And I mean, right from the very start, everybody's, oh, well, let's have a look at Epic 2. Oh, well, hang on. We can't have anybody running it. It's just got to be organic, and it's got to be all love and light and sitting around playing Kumbaya, all this other crap.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that if you're having some sort of a music festival out in the hills or whatever. No problem at all. And I'm all for love and light and whatever. But I'm more share the love and pass the ammunition kind of thing.
Yeah.
So in any kind of a military thing, and this is what we're talking about. We're talking about we're at war. We need to create an army. I'm not necessarily talking about one picks up guns or weapons, but
No.
The bottom line is, if you don't have some sort of leadership structure or some sort of strategy, then you're screwed. It's over. So, and we've seen now that since Epic, with everything that's happened and everything that's gone on, how's all the rest of it worked out for you? How's all the, let's just be organic and let's not have leaders and let's not have this and that and the other thing. How the hell's that worked out for you? It doesn't.
Yeah.
So if we take the lead from the government, because they're winning by a million miles, they have structure, they have plans, they have strategies.
Yes.
And if you're going to be in the freedom movement, then you need to stack up things and let's go. We need to load the guns and pull the battleship out and light it up.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the big problems, Carl, is that you've got me. I suppose I'm the most. I'm not going to use the word extreme. I'm the most straight shooter and hard hitter, because I just go, well, this is the deal. I don't give a stuff whether you believe it, whether it upsets you. I couldn't care less. This is the deal. And then you've got the other extreme where you've got people going, well, there's nothing going on at the minute. We just need to be, just enjoy your life. And so if something comes up, no, absolutely not. I mean, once again, we're creating confusion, and the data says that our enemies, they're planting the explosives underneath the building right now, and at some point they're going to push the button, and that's the entire thing is over.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
We have to be taking this very serious. We have to be doing it right now, and we have to come together and lead the country, because the politicians, they're in the business of sabotaging, or most of them anyway. So the people, and I was talking to people today, and they said, people who set out to have a career in politics, they're all about egos and all this other crap. And for mine, like I constantly say, Carl, mate, I'd rather be sitting on a tractor, thanks very much. I'd rather be chasing livestock around. I'd rather be cutting and baling silage and hay and all that stuff. That's me. That's what I want to be doing. This is not my deal. I've no intentions. I get no joy from traveling in Australia and doing all these kind of things and public speaking and all that, and taking all the crap that we get from all the nuffies who just are too stupid to work out what day it is. But and here's the caveat. Someone's got to do it. If we can see, if we have the knowledge, and you can see that our politicians most of them are completely corrupted. The four major parties, they're all corrupted. We've got people like Jackie Lambie, who started off great. I thought she was great when she first kicked into gear. And now, in my opinion, she's selling out our country. She's a traitor. She's selling out the very veterans and our military people who she claims to fight for. So, as I said, this is my opinion. And I'm just wondering, has she got a $10 million under the table cash in a little bag turned up or something like that? What's going on with her? So at the end of the day, mate, this is not my deal. I don't want to be doing this, but I cannot see anybody else who's doing it like I would. And so therefore it's a case of you look around, there's no one else in the line. So step up to the plate, mate.
Yeah.
You step up and you
Yeah.
have a go.
That's the attitude, Wade. And that's what we need from people in every electorate in Australia. We need people just like you, no ego, just want to get shit done. And this may not be the career path you ever wanted to do, but if not you, then who? Somebody has to stand up in your community and give us, the rest of us, someone to vote for. With enough people like Wade, with attitudes like that and that can-do attitude, Darren Bergwerf is another one. Great attitudes, with an attitude to all the people, not just themselves, an attitude to what's best for the nation. And I understand there's obviously got to be something that's good for the electorate in there as well, and how that would look, I don't know. But we have to get to a point where we can stop the corruption, the illegality, the unlawfulness that is being pushed on us, and the fraud that's pushed over us at every level. So I think, Wade, I've seen your presentation on a couple of occasions now, and you're right. You speak very directly. If people go there and are waiting to be hit softly in the face with a cucumber sandwich, that isn't going to happen. You're going to get a shovel full of truth and presented straight in your face. It's a great way of presenting, and you really bring across the message coming from our farmers and the message that needs to go to those farmers that are, I'm not going to say selling out, but are taking an opportunity that in the long run might be much more detrimental than they may have originally thought. And if they had known the difference, they may not have taken it. So, Wade, if I can help in any way, if I can, and I can tell you now, I can give us a venue in New South Wales where we could all meet and spend a week, if required, and nut this out. It would be a fabulous forum for us all to come together. We would be able to share it online across multiple streams, like everybody's channel gets a go. This isn't about building egos. This is about building an army and giving it leadership, as you said. And that's what we have been missing in this country for so long. So if I can help in any way, you just pick up the phone, mate.
Well, Will, certainly we need to talk. Absolutely, Carl. We need to get something happening. And if you've got a venue in New South, well, I mean, that's great. Personally, I'd love to do it in Victoria, to shove it right up Danistan, to shove it right up Andrew's nose, to say we have seen the coming together of all the freedom fighters in the most lockdown state in the world, the most lockdown city in Melbourne. The rings of steel, all the attacks that happened on the people here. And Andrews is the World Economic Forum poster child for, he's taken over from where Hitler left off, basically. So,
yeah.
But anyway, look, I'm open to other locations. Obviously, just for simple purpose of getting the job done. The medical
actually,
conference we've talked about.
There's an event that I'm not sure that you've been contacted about yet in Mount Gambier in early December, 6, 7, 8 of December. Brett Kemar from Mount Gambier is putting on an event at the Blue Lake. He was hoping to get you, Michael, myself, Guru, and a few others together for that. I think Cass has put a name up to be speaking at that too. Ainsley Bullion had come down for it. So that could be quite an event too. 6, 7, 8 of December. Watch out for an email or a phone call from Brett. I send him your phone number.
Yeah, no, beautiful. I'll certainly look at that. We were in Mount Gambier when we were travelling around our South Australia leg, and we did the Murray River, and Michael and Kelly came with us. It was a great tour. Michael and Kelly are just they're such hard workers, and they put up with a hell of a lot to deliver for the people of Australia. So, we did an event at Mount Gambier when we were coming back through South Australia, heading back to Halls Gap for a thing there, and for an 832 at Halls Gap. And we sort of went past this blue lake and thought that looks very interesting. You know what I mean? It's out there. There's no two ways about that. It's out there.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, it's a very blue lake. It's a beautiful part of the world. For folks who've never been there, it's a beautiful part of the world. I just saw Brett's in the chat. Actually, he says I've rung twice and left a message. So Brett, obviously Wade's been flat out at the Elmore Field Days for the last few days, so I'm sure he'll get to you.
We'll definitely get back there, and I'll certainly see how that fits into our program, because we do a lot of events these days, and a lot of people, want to hear Billboard Battalion speak and see our presentation. So that's really great. We know that more and more Australians are actually switching on and wanting to hear what's happening in their country, because as we see things like the digital identification bill pass in the House of Terrorists, and now they're looking at the misinformation and disinformation bill. This thing is a shocker. This needs to be fought and repelled at every cost. And this is one of the things that the main message: get onto your politicians. I don't care what colour they are. The four major parties are involved. The Teals are involved. The independents who are there are involved in the Senate. We need to put as much pressure on them, because I'll tell you right now, if they get this over the line, we are in a world of trouble. And in fact, the conferences that you and I are speaking about could be made illegal. You could end up in jail if you actually try. And I say to many of our people in the agricultural industry, and I've got a handful of the people in the ag industry at the minute at fairly high levels looking into this bill, because I'm trying to get them to get off their backsides and say, whoa, this is so dangerous that it has the capacity to be expanded to shut down anything at all the government don't want. And that would include any protests for keep the sheep in Western Australia, for the exports out of Bunbury in Western Australia. Anything at all with regard to your renewable energy disastrous thing, you being able to say anything about that would be over. You being able to say one word about any of these electricity companies coming onto your land and just doing what they want, your ability to argue, even speak about that, is over. The whole thing about the water issues, the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, wherever the government is having a go at farmers and wiping out anything at all, that's over. Even these greenies who think they'd be carrying on about whatever, when they start to work out what's really happening and how the actual Greens party is nothing more than a prostitute for the World Economic Forum, as are the other three major parties, and possibly a couple of small ones, a couple of independents, then they're going to work out, well, hang on, we should be saying, hell no, we're not going to put up with this. Guess what, stupid? You're going to end up in jail for opening your mouth, because when the time was there to fight this, you did nothing, you morons.
Yep. Couldn't
so,
agree more.
I mean,
I'm just going to share this.
Language now.
So, top story on the VOFHQ webpage at the moment is some documents that Vince put together on just this subject. Now, if you want to, we would encourage you to go and download this form letter and the list of senators and ministers that you can send it to. Now, it's got to go back into the Senate. And my understanding, Wade, is that we really only need to sway 5 votes in the Senate to make this thing go away. Jackie Lambie is obviously in the media at the moment, bleating that she doesn't like it and she's not inclined to, support it. Jackie Lambie is simply flagging to the Labor Party she's open to taking a backhander, and her vote is up for sale. So
Yep.
We can't count on Lambie as a no vote. However, there are a number of others in the Senate that include Pocock and others that can be swayed. And what we need is a concerted campaign with letters like this one Vince has put together and available at vofhq.com. You can download the letter and the list of senators to send it to, and you send it to them all. Sign it, send it to them all. Vince, tomorrow morning, and we're going to talk more about this and how important it is that people speak now. Because as Wade said, there's no point if you don't speak now when the restrictions come upon you and you say, oh, shit, no, that's not going to happen here. Too late. You're going to jail for saying, shit, no, that's not going to happen here. And you go to jail for 3 years as a minimum. It cannot be allowed to happen. So please go and do that. vofhq.com. If you want to know what to write, just download the form letter and the list of senators to send it to. Attach it to an email and send them on a daily basis. Make sure that every politician in this country knows that you and everybody that agrees with you doesn't agree with this bullshit new law being brought in against us. Yeah, Wade, it's a real serious problem. So I hope that we can make a difference and make sure that this thing doesn't come to fruition on December 1st, which I think is the day it's meant to be coming through. How can people find you, Wade? Billboard Battalion, how do they know where you're going to be and where you're heading next?
Well, we promote or advertise or put flyers up for as much as we can. Like we're only a very small operation, so we do what we can. People can look on billboardbattalion.com or Billboard Battalion on Facebook. We do Rumble, we do TikTok, we do YouTube, but we seem to have a slight issue at the minute with YouTube. I don't know, they got a bit upset with some of the things I've said, and I think that stemmed from a live that we did in Melbourne from the Shrine of Remembrance on the 3rd anniversary of the shooting of everybody by Victorian terrorists. Victoria Police, working under the direction of the main terrorist, Daniel Andrews and his crowd. So you can find us on all those things. We have a fair bit that we try and get done, but we're only a very, very small team. So we're looking at getting a few extra people on board to give us a hand with the IT and admin stuff, and just answering responses and comments and calls and so on, like you mentioned before there. I haven't got back to
a heap of people
respond yet, and so so we're trying to wrestle up a little bit of help. We've got a few people in mind, so we've got to put that together and give our I've got to give my team a bit of a break on that and try and help them.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, so that's where we are. And I just say, we also promoting the hell out of get on the politicians, because they're the Achilles heel of this whole thing. And in my opinion, you should not have to, and I want to make this very loud and clear, you should not have to lobby a politician to not vote for something that's going to destroy your country and your life. You should not have to lobby. They should. And so this got up in the lower house. And what I say to people is, if this goes south, I want you to remember the names of the politicians who voted for this.
Yes.
Because I put it to you that they have been bought off, corrupted, bribed, paid an enormous amount of money to put your family and your kids in absolute danger. And for whatever is going on, I don't care if this goes south and your life starts to go to crap and you suddenly work it out and the light bulb finally comes on. Remember the names of these politicians who set your family up to be destroyed. Remember their names.
Yep. Absolutely. There will be consequences. Wade, thanks for joining us tonight. You are welcome here anytime you need to share a message, mate. Just pick up the phone and ring me, and happy to help anytime. I'm looking forward to catching up with you next time. By the sounds of it, it'll be November when I'm heading down to your area for the My Place thing. So look forward to that. And then maybe a week later, early December, at Blue Lake in Mount Gambier. So I really look forward to catching up again. Thanks for coming on tonight, and get together and talk privately about how we and get this.
It's been my absolute pleasure, Carl. It's great to talk to you, mate. Anytime, pick up the phone, we'll have a yarn, and I might even be able to interview you on Billboard Battalion one day. You never know. So
anytime you like, mate. Anytime you like. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll be in touch and speaking more over the coming days and weeks, I'm sure. So thanks for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and same to you, mate. You do a terrific job there and a great show. I've seen a bit of your stuff over the time, and do not fall down. Don't go weak at the knees, and keep on going, mate, as we do.
No, shoulder to shoulder, mate. We will fight. Have no doubt.
Absolutely.
All right, love your work. Talk soon.
Thanks a lot, Carl. See you later, mate.
Cheers, bro. Wade from Billboard Battalion. Wade Nordhausen is a powerhouse. If you haven't seen one of Wade's presentations and you see the bus in your town, make sure you turn up. He's a gentleman and a scholar, and a very smart man. And he's working for us, the people, as we all are around this. We're just trying to convince a few others to join us, if you know how that works. I'm going to love you and leave you tonight, folks. There will be a couple of little lives tomorrow. I will do something with Vince in the morning where we will talk further about this mis and disinformation bill and the paperwork that's on vofhq.com. You can download. It's as simple as downloading it, signing it, attaching it, and sending it to the list that is also available to download. So we made it as easy as possible for you. Make sure you do it not just once. Do it daily. Make it your early morning coffee to the politicians, and make sure they know. Flood their inboxes, and feel free to add to the bottom of it, because I think what Wade said is a brilliant idea. I will remember your name. Add that to the bottom of it. You will be remembered if you do the wrong thing. Don't write you will be remembered if you fuck us over. Politicians don't like swearing. So, at least not when they're being sworn at. So, yeah, write something like that. Let them know that their decision will cost them. It'll either cost them at the ballot box, or it could cost them significantly more. All right, folks, going to love you and leave you tonight. Had another early start this morning, so I'm going to head off to bed very, very soon. No show tomorrow night as such, not the Friday free-for-all, as I mentioned at the head of the show. I've got an event I've been invited to where there's going to be some political movers and shakers. It'll be interesting to see how I'm accepted. But I am told I'll be able to you next week. That's the plan, at any rate. And hopefully we might be able to find a few more paths on the way to a solution for all of this shit. Until I talk to you again tomorrow, have yourself a bloody good night. And remember, folks, those roads are absolutely full of what? Yeah, those dickheads.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!